My name is Neil Patel, and I help companies generate more revenue through digital marketing. Entrepreneur Magazine said I was the #1 marketer in the world, and they also said I created one of the 100 most brilliant companies. I started my first website at the age of 16. I took all the money that I earned from working at an amusement park, and I paid a marketing firm. The marketing firm provided no results, and I quickly learned that I wasn't alone. Out of my frustration and from being broke, I had no choice but to learn marketing. My first client was a power supply manufacturer. I helped them generate another $25 million in sales, and from that point, I realized the power of marketing. I helped everyone that I could, and I built my reputation by being honest and over-delivering. I've helped companies like Google, NBC, Viacom, General Motors, eBay, but nothing's more satisfying than helping small business owners succeed. I founded 4 multi-million-dollar companies, and I've learned all the mistakes that you should avoid. I've written about them on Forbes, Entrepreneur, Inc., Fast Company, and even on my own blogs. It's so awesome to know that colleges from all around the world are teaching my material in their classroom. Over the years, I've received awards from the President of the United States, the House of Representatives, and the United Nations. People believe marketing is expensive and difficult. Fortunately, that's not true. There is a formula. Even if you don't have a technical bone in your body, you can get results. And my mission is to share this formula with you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you guys for joining us today. I'm going to share my screen. All right, I'm going to get into presentation mode really quickly. So today we're going to be talking about using data to personalize content and generate more revenue. It's going to be a really fun webinar, and the main reason being is a lot of our webinars discuss topics like SEO or content, just general like content creation and AI or social media. But very few people talk about personalization and data. And this can have a huge impact on conversions, because one trend that's continually happened over the years is marketing just gets more expensive. So if you can personalize and boost your conversions, it really makes a huge impact on revenue generation. So I'm the co-founder of NP Digital. We're a global ad agency. And with me, I have Scott and Tierney, who have been with the team for each roughly 4 years. Scott, do you want to give a quick introduction of yourself? And then Tierney, you can go next.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Scott Zimmerman, and I'm the Associate Director of Technical SEO at NPD. So all of the technical success, a lot of the data management, and some of the personalization for our own clients is routed through my team. And very excited to share the technical side of things, as well as how it can apply to the different size businesses that we're all working on.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tierney Brannigan. I'm the Senior Content Strategy Manager here at the agency. Work really closely with our SEO and DPR teams to strategize, craft, and promote content. And I've been in digital marketing for about 8 years now and worked with companies of all shapes and sizes, from startups in the health and wellness field all the way up to some of the largest fintech companies in the country. And also very excited to be here.
Well, with NP Digital, we're a global ad agency. We're in 19 plus countries. We have quite a few clients. Work with clients of all sizes and won tons of awards. The reason I say this is today, when we talk about data and personalization, we're implementing it. We're getting results. So if you need help implementing what we're talking about today, you can always scan that QR code, fill out your information, and talk to someone on our team, or you can just go to npdigital.com. The big thing is with personalization, and it's growing in popularity because so many people are expecting different user experiences, right? A basic example of this is if I have a dog and Amazon shows me cat food to buy, they're going to make less revenue. And you need to really personalize, because if you don't personalize, you're just shooting yourself in the foot by showing people stuff that they may not care about or may not want. And if you're wondering why you should get personal, the big reason is attention. Just think about Instagram or TikTok. We spend so much time on Instagram and TikTok, But if they started showing us content we didn't care for, we wouldn't really spend that time. If you look at Reels on Instagram, they're showing you what they know you like or don't like. And if they're confused, they actually ask you to dislike or like this, so they know what kind of content to show you. And this helps them adjust. So then that way they know they're getting your attention and you will keep using the app. It's kind of crazy. The average person uses social media for, I believe it's 2 hours and 27 minutes a day. That's a lot. That just shows you how effective personalization is. And the key, once you personalize, you'll get attention. But when you have that attention, it's actually the key to retention. Look at how often you log onto social media. It's because they have your attention, and attention means retention. But if they showed you experience that sucked, they wouldn't have your attention. And you know what? You're probably not going to use the app as often. Or if Amazon kept showing you DVDs to buy when everyone streams content, you probably wouldn't keep going back to Amazon. You're like, no, I'm here to buy books, not DVDs, or I'm here to buy shampoo or toilet paper, or whatever it is that you're looking for on Amazon. And again, if you get attention and you get retention, the big key element that you're optimizing for is business growth. Personalization is a key to drive more revenue. Same with attention and even retention. In marketing's got so expensive that the way companies really grow and become those $100+ million businesses or $1 billion+ businesses, and that's in revenue, is really by optimizing for their lifetime value of a customer. It's not about buying traffic or getting traffic and getting a conversion, making dollar right then and there, and it being profitable. It's more about spending money, and you may lose some on the front end, but if you know your lifetime value, you're going to make a killing from year 2, year 3, year 4, and it goes on and on and on. And that's why companies like Snowflake are so large, because even if they didn't do much, even if they lost some customers, their existing customers spend more money each year, where it makes up for the loss plus more. In other words, the company's growing even if they don't do tons of changes, because they have net negative retention. And that's because they have great attention and great retention due to their product, and that creates amazing business growth.
All right, so Neil's already gone over many reasons why personalization is so important, but let's take a closer look at what it is and why it is so important for you to start implementing it as soon as possible. At its simplest, personalized marketing is a strategy that leverages customer data to create ads and content experiences that are customized to the individual customer. And this type of strategy is beneficial because it helps you make more money, drive more revenue, and it creates a better experience for the user. So it's a win-win. Now, we know in theory that personalization is a good idea, but what do the numbers say? Well, they also say it's a good idea. More than 7 in 10 consumers expect a personalized experience from brands, and over 3/4 of customers become frustrated when that expectation is not met. And this all comes down to something very psychological. It comes down to this human-based need to want to be heard, seen, and understood. We expect this from our loved ones, and we give this sort of treatment to our loved ones, and we expect this from the brands that we interact with, sometimes on a daily basis, and give our precious time and money to. Now, the process of creating a personalized marketing strategy can be boiled down into 3 simple steps. The first is finding the right customers. So these are the people who are engaging with your brand, making purchases, and advocating for your brand. And you want to learn as much as you can about this group. The second step is figuring out what channels these people are using throughout their customer journey. So how are they discovering your brand, doing research, comparing their options, and finally making a purchase? The final step is putting it all together and targeting these people with the right content in the right place at the right time. And the key here is to personalize your messaging using the data that you've collected along the way to ensure that you're acknowledging their preferences, their pain points, and letting them know how your products and services are going to solve their problems. As we've been alluding to, there are many benefits of personalization, and these statistics really drive the point home. The first is that brands who use personalization in their marketing campaigns are 215% more likely to say their strategies were very effective compared to brands that did not. The next is that nearly all marketers, 96% to be exact, say that personalization leads to repeat business. And to me, that stat alone is reason to start testing personalization today. Because we know that when you have repeat business and good customer retention, you start to lay the foundation for a strong, growing business. Finally, 94% of marketers say personalization helped lead to increased sales, which is another really compelling data point in favor of personalization. And here's one more statistic that may surprise you. A majority of consumers say they are willing to provide personal data in exchange for offers or discounts. And I know that I fall into this group, and maybe you do too, but think about the last time you visited a website for the first time. Maybe you were brought there from social media, and maybe 2 minutes into being there, you get a pop-up that asks for your email and your birthday in exchange for a 10% discount on your first purchase. Almost every time, I will give them my birthday and my email, one, because I want that discount, and two, because I know in the back of my head, I can always unsubscribe if I don't want to continue to interact with this brand. But to be honest, I never really end up doing that because they continue to nurture me and they continue to send me discounts on items that they know I'm interested in or that I've bought in the past. Now, let's talk about why personalization can help drive down acquisition costs, drive up conversions, and ultimately help generate up to 40% more revenue. The first reason is because personalization grabs people's attention more quickly and gets people to engage with your content. For example, email subject lines that contain the recipient's name are much more likely to be clicked to open than email subject lines that do not contain the recipient's name. The second reason is because it creates better relationships between you and your customers, which, as we've said, improves customer retention. That means you're not having to spend as much time and money going out and acquiring new customers, and you're also nurturing this existing customer base who are coming back and making repeat purchases from you. The final reason is because you're able to craft better marketing campaigns with the data you've collected and analyzed. Basically, the more you know about your customers, the more you know about what makes them tick, the more effective of marketing campaigns you're going to be able to run in the future. Now, a webinar in 2024 would not be complete without mention of AI. And in this case, we're taking a quick look at how marketers are already using AI to add personalization to their strategies. So first, over 90% of businesses are using AI-driven personalization to drive growth. And you might even be using an AI personalization tool without knowing it. An example of one of these tools would be an AI-powered chatbot that pops up on your website and asks people about the content that they're viewing or asks people about an item they have recently viewed. It is personalized to their experience and personalized to the content that they have consumed. Moving on to the last two stats here, over 3/4 of marketers say that generative AI helps them create personalized content. So generative AI includes tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, or even image generation tools like DALL-E and Adobe Firefly. And these are tools that you can feed information into about your target audience, so their preferences, their pain points, their location, really any sort of information that you have about them, and then ask it to spit out copy or images that are going to resonate most with that audience. And that's how you get AI to give you personalized content. And finally, 70% of marketers say AI helps them improve the overall customer experience, which is so important for converting and retaining customers. And now I'll hand it over to Neil to walk us through an awesome case study.
So here's a case study, Mu Sigma's approach to data-driven personalization. About Mu Sigma. Mu Sigma is a data analytics and decision sciences company. They're headquartered out of Chicago, and they partner with over 140 Fortune 500 companies. And if you look at Mu Sigma, they're in the center of things like technology, business, math. They've done some really cool stuff with companies like Home Depot and figuring out how to make let's say the checkout experience much better and more efficient. And they're analyzing tons of data to create a better user experience. Now, the challenge with them, a large home improvement retailer wanted to optimize their, marketing spend. Their goal was to shift from, marketing campaign models that are just, hey, let's look at data, to showing people the right content during the right channel for the right audience. And what ended up happening with Mu Sigma is they started to target customers with more personalized content, identify behavioral patterns in sales, browsing, demographics, etc. Right? And what they did is they started prioritizing relevant, interconnected problems such as like customers' purchase propensity, churn propensity, coupon redemptions, acquisition/retention models. They looked at third-party data. They looked at store associate placement, like where they were in the store, brand affinity. They were looking at a lot of different quote unquote, they were looking at a lot of elements to figure out what is going to really help achieve the goal. And what ended up happening was, if you pretty much look, they leveraged these frameworks and they designed a structured approach to help solve their partner's problem. And what's really cool with this, I was talking with the founder, no joke, when we talk about like A/B testing, you can end up running, VWO or Crazy Egg or Optimize or whatever tool you want. But they're actually doing some of this stuff in real time, even at physical locations, right? Which is extremely rare. And the results were amazing. So their 3-step solution, they use advanced analytics. They help the retailer turn their whiteboard strategy into a marketplace reality. And it started with data analysis, model building, and performance estimation. And step 1 was data analysis, identify the key data sources, followed by exploratory data analysis. So they looked at things like customer interests, purchase behavior, what's the demographic data. They even went out there and started getting more feedback and reviews. And then they, pretty much looked at, all right, what's causing the conversion? And step 2 was the model building. They developed predictive models to identify customers who are likely to purchase or perform an event. And this was useful because it really knows who you're targeting and what you need to do. And the reason I bring this up is a lot of people, when they're looking at optimizing their marketing and conversions, they really focus on, hey, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try to appeal to everyone. It doesn't work. What you need to do is only appeal to your ideal customer. And that's really it. If you appeal to your ideal customer, yes, you'll lose some people, but the people who are qualified, you'll notice that the conversions go through the roof, and it more than makes up for the losses that you would have gotten from the other bucket. And then step 3, performance estimation. You need a test. You need to have a control methodology to gauge the effectiveness of the campaigns. Then you have dashboards to facilitate ease of consumption of the data by various stakeholders and continuously monitor model performance. And then, of course, you got your target audience and content recommendations by compiling data from several models. The impact was pretty crazy. $3 million in incremental revenue realized through the support provided for over 20 direct mail campaigns, 60 million recommendations sent out every week. And, there's a lot of other benefits as well. But the big ones were, look at the increase in revenue. Like, just think about that. Through personalization, an extra $3 million in revenue. Now, this was through, one targeted campaign. Imagine them doing more of this within an organization. If you personalize more elements of the experience, that 3 million could end up turning to $30 million a year in extra revenue, right? It all adds up.
Great. So with all of that in mind and a lot of the success, let's go ahead and discuss how we can replicate some of that for your own business. And so when we start to think through, and next slide for me, Neil, if you don't mind. So when we start to think through what is powering all of this and at the source and the core of these campaigns, it's really the effectiveness of turning data into decisions. And so regardless of the business size, regardless of what industry you're in, data-driven decision-making is something that's going to be paramount in order to make personalization effective. So the problem is many people and individuals, as well as organizations, are lacking the clear strategy, and they don't have all of the data points leveraging in a connected way to derive those decisions. So what we'll do in this section is unpack a bit more about how it differs across the small business landscape versus enterprise. I'll enlist the help of Tyranny to help me cover some of that. But we can start to jump in and go through some of these practical examples and how you can view this for your organization, depending on where you're at in the maturity model of personalization. All right, so like we alluded to just now, we want to make sure that all the data-driven decision-making has a framework that actually matches the size and complexity of your business. So Tyranny, go ahead and walk us through the SMB side.
Sounds good. So if you're a small business owner or a marketer for a small business, don't feel like you have to move heaven and earth to get unique or complex data in order to make impactful decisions. Start with the basics, those clear, actionable metrics that you have at your fingertips and help you understand whether your strategies are effective or not. For example, you might start looking more closely at website traffic from SEO and start to draw conclusions about what types of people are coming to your website and what types of queries are driving people to your website to gain a better understanding of your visitors. You could do something similar with your paid search ads and your social ads. You could even start looking at your social posts to get a better understanding of what types of organic social content is resonating the most with your audience.
Certainly. And on the enterprise side, if you could just go back for me real quick, Neil. On the enterprise side, we're going to want to go beyond the basic metrics. And so on the SMB side, where you might be tailoring this to individuals and campaigns, when an enterprise data comes into the equation, you might be looking at, on the global level, how can we personalize content for these individuals, let's say in a specific dialect or in a motivating way that is different from those in the US. And you'll have all of these signals to be able to contribute to that decision making. It may take a bit longer to honestly formulate the framework and the strategy because you have more options available. But this is the nature of being able to sort of plug and play depending on the size of your market. As far as scalability and resources are concerned, we definitely understand that depending on where you're at and the size of the organization, there could be budget constraints. There could be very small teams versus larger, very supportive, full engineering stack teams. So Tyranny can go ahead and walk through the SMB examples here.
Cool. Yeah, so if you're a small business and have maybe limited resources, it's important that you prioritize personalization strategies that are low cost and high impact. So start with the tools and the data and the tactics, again, that you already have in place, and suss out which strategies give you the highest ROI for the lowest upfront cost, and then build out from there.
And on the enterprise side, larger budgets typically are going to allow for more sophisticated tools and more means of testing through different channels. So you would be afforded the opportunity in a lot of cases to, let's say, A/B test social while also testing things on the organic side for paid and in different geographies and markets. So again, you have a much more wide range of levers to pull when you have that much data in your stable. On the data management and integration side, this is definitely, I think, where we're going to see sort of the largest divulgence given the infrastructure that different businesses have. So on the SMB side, Tierney, take it away.
Sure. Yeah. If you're a small business, again, you don't need to overcomplicate things or invest in the most expensive software in order to get the data and the outcomes you're looking for. Start with simple, low cost, even free platforms like Google Analytics and Facebook Insights, which are both free that can help you glean insights about your customers and the impacts of your marketing strategies.
Yeah, and again, on the enterprise side, we're going to be dealing with a lot more data. The ecosystem tends to be more complex and it needs to integrate from a bunch of different platforms to get the best visualization in a dashboard. So when it comes to this, we're looking at enterprise grade business intelligence platforms, your own data warehousing, and then layering in machine learning and predictive analytics tools on top of that to be able to manipulate your data model. And finally, on the agility versus structure. So we deal with a lot of different organizations of many different sizes, and it can be like driving a speedboat or trying to turn a cruise ship, depending on where you're at and how many stakeholders are involved. So Tierney on the SMB side.
Yeah. So if you're a small business, you have the privilege and the ability to be agile. So that means that you can make decisions and run tests and then make pivots or changes off of those tests without having to cut through a bunch of red tape or get a bunch of approvals. This is a huge advantage for you, and you should take advantage of this agility as long as you can and test as many personalization strategies as you can.
Definitely. I think on the enterprise side, we see a lot longer approval times. It's definitely coordinating across departments, which can be challenging. And so on the SMB side, you're afforded the opportunity to, let's say, run a few A/B tests, right, to get a sense of what the data is going to look like without having to go through, let's say, a 2-month legal approval process for the copy. So sort of take advantage of those different stages depending on where you're at, and you can deploy the tactics in a much more structured way if you need to, versus sort of testing and just getting the data in the door. And of course, the customization level. So with all of the data that we have, it's important to know that there are certain levels of customization that drive results, and then there can be over personalization in a sense, where it's just too derived from the main experience for the user to get exactly what they're looking for. Tierney?
Yep. So if you're a smaller business, you have another advantage here of being able to get really personal with your customers. When you have a larger business or an enterprise, you might be dealing with hundreds of thousands or even millions of customers, which is a lot of data to analyze and boil down to create personalized experiences with. If you're a smaller business and your client list is maybe in the tens or the hundreds or the low thousands, it's much easier to craft personalized messaging because there's a much more manageable amount of data for you to leverage.
All right. So with all of that in mind, we want to go through a bit of a recap here and give you a sense of what specifically needs to happen to implement a data-driven decision-making framework. And that always starts with clearly defined goals and KPIs. So at the start of any initiative, you want to make sure that your data collection aligns with the specific marketing objectives and that you can actually quantify the success of things, because you can run as many A/B tests as you'd like, but if you don't have a way to measure which one was successful and what to do as a byproduct of it, then it tends to be very difficult to actually prove that value out. So second part being identifying your relevant data sources. So that could be your demographic data. It could be your Facebook pixel data even, or aggregated reviews and feedback. And you can play and sort of show what elements of these are we going to incorporate into the model that can actually drive the results. Then there's the data collection and the model building. So, like we discussed, depending on the organization size, you're going to have different tools and platforms available to actually house this consumer data and be able to act on it and pull the different levels through different channels. And from that, when you have all of this data, you can then actually turn it into action. So those can be the targeted recommendations and strategies to reach specific customer segments. Maybe you have a market internationally that you're going to try different drip campaigns with because it's been more effective than your SMS, for example. And that's just the nature of how those users behave in that geography. And then on the performance side of things, you want to get a sense of, okay, what can I expect as I monitor this campaign? How do we tailor the different tactics to make sure that we're actually modulating the results? And we want to be able to better refine the approach over time. So you want to take a hard look at, okay, was this successful? And if not, what are the certain elements that we're going to incorporate next time to where we can have a decent control against this new initiative that we're going to try and go forward with?
All right. Now let's get into 5 personalization solutions that can help drive revenue and create a better experience for your customers. The first solution here is to use segmentation in your marketing campaigns. And segmentation is so important because it allows you to market to different audiences with personalized content and product offerings that are going to be the most relevant to them and are going to be the most likely to get them to convert. In fact, segmented campaigns can lead to a 760% increase in revenue. So there are many different ways you can approach segmentation. You can do it based on your customers' traits, like their demographics, their psychographics. So that would be like their interests, their values, and their fears, and their behaviors, both online and offline. And by doing this exercise, you might start to come up with segments like frequent shoppers, who could be people who've bought something from you at least twice in the last 3 months. You might have luxury seekers, who are people who have a high net worth and who have purchased a luxury vacation in the last 12 months. Or you might have budget conscious buyers, who are people who consistently use the discount codes you send out and consistently buy from the sales section of your website. And just comparing those last 2 segments to each other, you know you're going to need to craft different messaging for luxury seekers versus budget conscious buyers in order to get them to convert. The next way to segment is based on product. So you start to make different lists based on product features, quality, price points, the problems that your products are solving. And in doing so, you can either better meet the needs of your current target audience or begin to break into a different part of the market, expanding your market share. For example, let's say that you sell phones, and up to this point, you've only sold the most expensive and latest model of the phones that are coming out. While this may have worked for you, it is preventing you from being able to sell to a part of the market that just doesn't have the budget to buy the new version of the phone every time a new one is released. So, in order to tap into that market, you create a budget phone segment and maybe you expand your product offerings. So now you not only sell those new and the latest version of the phone, but you also sell refurbished phones or last year's model. And in doing so, you're gaining more market share and tapping into that audience who maybe has a little bit of a tighter budget. The last type of segmentation here is market segmentation. And this is where you're looking at the entire target market that you are trying to sell to. And this is different from customer segmentation in that customer segmentation looks at your existing customer list. Market segmentation, again, is looking at the entire target market and then beginning to segment it based on things like demographics, location, their behaviors, what sorts of products you think they might prefer. And then you start to get segments like urban commuters, who are people who live in the suburbs, work in the big city, probably spend a lot of time in the car or on public transit. So they're probably spending a lot of time listening to podcasts or listening to music streaming services. Or if they're not driving, maybe they're spending a lot of time on social media or news sites in the morning. And maybe they have a family at home. And already you have so many data points about this audience that are going to help you craft the most effective messaging in order to reach them and to get them to purchase from you. And as if that wasn't enough, here we're giving you 14 ways to start segmenting your list today. I am not going to go through all of these, and these were also from a tweet or an X post, whatever you're supposed to call it, that Neil put out a few weeks ago. So you could check it out there or take a screenshot now. But the point is to start using segmentation today so you can start putting personalization strategies into place. And if you don't know where to start, just start with the data that you already have. If you only have information about your customer's age, for example, that means you can create 4 very distinct segments: Gen Zers, Millennials, Gen Xers, and Baby Boomers. And you should be talking very differently to Boomers than you would to Gen Zers. And then as you accumulate more data over time, you can continue to refine and even branch those segments. So maybe you start to accumulate location data. Now you have a segment for Gen Zers in New York City and a segment for Gen Zers in Omaha, Nebraska. And you, again, are going to talk very differently to those Gen Zers in New York than you would to the Nebraskans, even though they're in the same age group. The next way to use personalization to improve your marketing campaigns is, of course, in email. Think about it. When you open your personal inbox each day, which subject lines are grabbing your attention? For me, it's the ones that say my name or are offering a discount on a product I was recently looking at, or are reminding me to restock on a product that I bought a few months ago. These are classic email personalization tactics, and they absolutely work. Considering that 40% of email users have over 50 unread emails, and let's be real, it's probably way more than 50 unread emails, it's crucial that we do something to stand out against the sea of other emails that are vying for that click to open. So when it comes to personalizing your email subject lines, make sure you're including things like the person's name, maybe their birthday, items they've recently looked at, and items they've recently purchased. And now that you know personalization can improve your email open rates, take a look at this chart and see where your business lands. If your open rates are 10% or more below the industry average in the column on the right, that's a sign that you probably need to take a closer look at your current email marketing strategy and inject it with some personalization. Start by testing using the recipient's name in the subject line, or an item they recently looked at, or an item that's in their shopping cart, and see how it affects your open rates. Now, getting someone to open your email is only half the battle. Next, you have to get them to actually engage with your email and ideally click a link that takes them back to your website. So here we're giving you just a few ideas of how to make your emails engaging and personal. The first is to make sure that you are sending short, snackable content. The copy should be succinct and easy to digest and give the user the option to explore more, read more, shop more by clicking on a link that takes them back to your website. The second idea here is to test embedding quizzes, polls, or even mini games in your emails to create a fun and memorable experience for your users, while also allowing you to collect data specifically by using quizzes and polls. The third tip, of course, is to make sure that your emails are as personal as possible. One of the golden rules of email marketing is to greet your recipients by name in the email. So, hey, Neil, what's up, Neil? Greetings, Neil. Whatever the correct greeting is for your brand tone and voice, make sure that you're including their first name as soon as they open that email so they know that you're talking directly to them. And similarly, the fourth tip here is to offer your users exclusive content or discounts based on what you know about their shopping preferences and behaviors. The third way you can use personalization to increase revenue is in one-to-one personalized marketing. Now, this type of marketing involves direct contact with the user and offers that are handpicked especially for them. For example, on the left side of the slide, we see here that Airbnb slid into Becky's DMs with a few suggestions of places for her to stay. And these are based on her browsing history and picked just for her and just for her trip to San Sebastian. In the example on the right, Stitch Fix is doing something similar. They're reaching the user with push notifications to let them know that they have hand-picked suggestions of clothing items for them to look at, which are, again, very specific to this individual user. The fourth personalization strategy has to do with your website content, and it's about implementing dynamic website content. Now, if you have never heard of this or never experimented with this, it might sound complicated or intimidating, but I assure you that it is not, and it can be pretty straightforward. You're essentially showing each visitor a unique version of your website where you're highlighting products that they have shown interest in. And so you might feature these products on your homepage, in their shopping cart, or in the site search results. And there are tools that you can use that are powered by AI to dynamically populate your website content with these products. And on the next slide, we'll show you an example of this out in the wild to give you a better idea of how it works. All right, so this is the Wayfair website. Wayfair is a furniture marketplace online, and they use dynamic content to populate their homepage. So in the screenshot on the left, you are seeing the standard generic homepage experience. This is probably what you will see if you've never been to Wayfair before and it's your first time there, or if you haven't been to Wayfair in a really long time. So you come in on this homepage experience and you start browsing around, looking at items. And while you're doing this, Wayfair is taking note of what items you are showing the most interest in. Let's say you close out that session and then you come back a few days later. Let's say you just got paid, you're ready to buy that ottoman that you were eyeing. Instead of having to go through the experience of searching for it and browsing through Wayfair's website, they are dynamically populating the homepage, as shown in the screenshot on the right, with that ottoman that you've shown interest in, shortening the customer buying journey and creating a more convenient and streamlined experience for you. So this is a win-win once again. The final personalization solution we have for you today are product recommendations. Consider this: a majority of people are interested in seeing personalized product recommendations. And this is especially true of Gen Zers who basically want companies to tell them what to buy. And this makes sense because this is the generation who has born and really celebrated the influencer, who are people who are telling you what to buy. So, as a marketer, this is great news for you because it means customers don't want to waste time browsing and researching different products on your website. They want to get straight to the meat of the purchase as much as you do. So, how do you create these product recommendations? You use the data that you have about past customer purchases to construct your recommendations. And again, this is something that an AI tool or a plugin can help you with. Then it's just a matter of getting those product recommendations in front of your customers as much as possible. You could do this by putting them in social ads, in emails, in shopping carts, and the list goes on.
Great. And so to accomplish many of the tactics that Tierney just walked us through, a lot of organizations are going to be adapting to technology during that process. And so we want to look at how can we leverage AI as well as machine learning and different tools to help us automate a lot of that personalization process, whether that be from simply including that customer's name dynamically in the subject line all the way down to the content creation specific to the copy. So we'll walk through a couple examples here for both the SMB and enterprise side of things to give you a sense of what the platforms may look like depending on where you're at. All right, on the small business side of things, we want adaptable platforms that can grow with the business. So, you're not going to want your multi-million dollar Tableau sort of offering here, where all you need initially is just something like Polymer, where you can visually start to understand a lot of the data that you're bringing in and get the basic analysis done. Now, there are other tools like Monkey Learn, which is for text and sentiment analysis, and these are tools that pretty much any size business can have access to. Now, on the actual intelligence side, Power BI is free and customizable, and it comes with visualization capabilities and integration with Microsoft products. So there are benefits and several platforms available for SMBs that are not going to contribute heavily to budget, that will enable you to get better insights and actions on the data that you currently have. And again, you want to make sure those platforms are selected so that they can grow alongside you and that you're not, let's say, biting off more than you can chew, or getting yourself into a contract where this platform may not scale if you hit critical mass or your campaigns start to become very successful. Now, for enterprises, you want to look for things that can manage vast amounts of data with ease as well, and that can integrate with your existing systems. So we talked about Tableau may not be the best application for SMBs, but certainly on the enterprise side, we want all of the visualization capabilities and the integration that gives us the full customization. Now, there are things like Data Robot, which will automate some of the machine learning and the analytics behind building the predictive models without having to have, let's say a 30-person engineering team behind you to actually be able to build this in a proprietary way. And then looking towards the AI and sort of the even deeper integration of where we can power this with artificial intelligence, things like IBM Watson, which offers a massive amount of data exploration, natural language processing, and effectively can function as another form of cognition on the data that you're looking at, to where you might not be able to get the same perspectives that this AI can, given its ability to ingest and analyze so much data at one time. So again, just to reiterate, you want to make sure you're selecting the right platform that can scale with the business, and that you're not taking on too much budget in a platform that will then actually hold you back from spending those dollars on the marketing side. So that's something to keep in mind for sure. Now, with all of this, because I have a very deep background in technical SEO, I do need to call out a few things. Personalization is amazing for users, but it can cause problems for search engines. So if Googlebot starts to get individual session IDs that's saying, "Hi, Mary, welcome back," it's going to be a little bit confusing for crawlers. So we want to make sure that any of the software that's active and being acted on the front end for users is not actually delivering that experience to search engines. And if anyone's interested in more specific tactics, obviously, on how you can test that, we can obviously follow up. Next slide here. The final point that I like to make is, when you're putting new software on the website, enabling new personalization, sometimes that can have a negative impact on the load performance of your templates, whether that be landing pages, paid landing pages. So you want to make sure that you do testing with this and that you're looking for the most lightweight option possible that won't actually cause a detriment to the end user experience while offering the same level of personalization. Because if it's going to take 12 seconds to show the personalized information, it's probably not worth it at that stage, right? The user may have already bounced. So you want to make sure you're looking at, one, its effectiveness, but two, does it degrade our performance at all? And make sure that you monitor those two sides of it.
Yes, Scott hit the nail on the head. If personalization is great, but if you can't show the personalization pretty much instantly, people don't care. No one even wants, it's not even 10, 15, 20 seconds. People don't even want to wait 5 seconds for personalization. That's how, short of attention span people have. They expect it right then and there as quick as possible. And if you can't do that, what you'll find is showing personalization and taking a long time to show it will actually decrease your conversions. So you have to make sure speed is there. Some key takeaways. Look, as more and more people go out there and spend more and more on marketing, which is what happens over time, which is what's causing the cost of marketing to go up. you're going to have no choice but to personalize. Personalizing will give you an edge and will help give you a higher ROI, and it should significantly boost your sales over time. Now, it doesn't matter what kind of business you are, what size you are, anyone can pretty much leverage it. There's a lot of software solutions that can help on both ends. Some are free, some are paid, but something is better than nothing with personalization. Now, the thing that we've also seen and tested is there's also a point where if you personalize too much and you try to personalize every little thing, you're going to get diminishing returns in the ROI. And in some cases, it doesn't move the needle at all. Does it mean you shouldn't personalize? No, you should. But start off with the big glaring things that would really improve the experience and then go from there. We have another coming up webinar on the new Google trend. This will change the way you write content. You can register, just scan the QR code, and we'll end up breaking that all down at 8 a.m. PST on March 26th. And hopefully we will see you there. And if you need help with personalizing your marketing campaigns, you can reach out to us at npdigital.com, or you can just scan that QR code. We're always here to help. If you just have questions, you can always hit us up as well. So now let's dive into some Q&A.
Awesome. Great job, everybody. Hello, my name is David Shapiro. I am part of the Earned Media team here, and I will be walking through a few questions with the few minutes that we have left. So the first question was about managing a blog in multiple languages, right? So when we talk about personalization, clearly language is something that's vital. You have to speak to people in the language that they know. So Scott, I'm wondering if you can address this from a technical perspective, and then Neil, if there's anything that you want to add, just being the owner of neilpatel.com, obviously one of the most popular blogs in multiple languages. So Scott, if you want to start there from a technical perspective, and then we can pass it over to Neil to see if there's anything he can add.
Yeah, absolutely. The underlying technical foundation of configuring global content really does come back to the hreflang and how you're essentially indicating to Google, this is my English version, but these are all the other versions I have available in these markets. And that's not to say you have to have a one-to-one equivalent across all of your languages. There may be plenty of topics you want to cover in only this local dialect or that's specific to this. And then the second part of that for me is the quality of the translation. I think that sometimes gets overlooked, and it's oftentimes just a direct replication of the English content, where if you really want that content to perform on a local level, you need to make the nuanced dialect changes. You need to tailor it to how they view these certain concepts, and not just essentially direct translate it off of your English copy. Your users deserve a little bit more than just that.
Great. Neil, anything you want to add to that?
Scott pretty much covered it. The big thing that he hit on, because we've done a lot of tests with this, translating just one-to-one doesn't work too well. Transcribing, which is what Scott is talking about, where you're adjusting the content to the local market, is what really gets the results. Now, that's not really personalizing to individual. You're more personalizing to a region, but it does work. And when you do your keyword research and you're translating, keep in mind the keywords for that region in many cases are totally different. So it's just not as simple as translating the keywords. You need to actually do keyword research for each of those articles all over again.
Awesome. Thank you. The second question, I think Tierney might be the best to answer, but somebody in the audience was trying to leverage LinkedIn video to attract the audience that is, for their business, but they're failing to grab the attention of the target audience. Is there anything that you'd recommend to this person to help them create more engaging video content more broadly? And then, maybe if there's anything that you can add around LinkedIn, that's great. But if it's just about video, that should be fine too. But anything you'd recommend so that they can create more engaging video content?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, for starters, I would say go back to the basics. Make sure you're using the preferred dimensions for LinkedIn, for mobile especially. You have good lighting, and that you are grabbing the user's attention within the first 6 seconds of the video. So put the most interesting or the most surprising or the most engaging content at the very, very beginning. And don't make your videos any longer than 30 seconds. You can always chop them up into smaller pieces and keep people coming back for more. As far as making it more relevant to the audience you're trying to reach, it's really going to be a matter of testing and analyzing the data from the posts that you put out there. So test putting out content about different aspects of your business, maybe some behind the scenes content, maybe some product centric content, maybe some educational content, and see which ones generate the most engagement on LinkedIn, and then lean more into that direction with the future videos that you create.
Awesome. Great advice. Thank you, Tierney. And then I know we're coming up on time, so this will probably be the last question. I'll direct it to Neil. Any strategies that you recommend to generate leads for B2B or businesses with longer sales cycles where users aren't just making a purchase, but they're signing a longer term contract?
It's actually very similar to consumer. There's not much of a difference. You still do the content marketing, you still do your SEO, your paid ads, social media marketing, etc. You just have a longer sales cycle. The big mistakes we see with B2B who are generating leads, there's a few things though, right? Especially when you have a longer sales cycle and the dollar price is higher. One is a lot of times their landing pages don't have tons of information because they're optimizing for lead count instead of lead quality. We've seen time and time again, we work with some really big software companies that are worth hundreds of billions of dollars. When you end up putting more information on page, you get less leads, but your sales reps close at a higher percentage, and they tend to see more total revenue than having a landing page with very little information on it. The second is when you're doing paid ads, like leveraging things like Google Performance Max, with the long sales cycle, it really screws up your paid ads when you're pushing in a conversion because it can happen 3-4 months later. It just really makes the system out of whack, especially in B2B where you don't have as much volume, but the price tags are a lot higher. So what we like doing is going one step higher up in the funnel. Look at lead quality. So when a lead comes in, pass that into PMax as a conversion. But what you want to end up doing is look at the leads that are really good, pass those in as a conversion. The leads that suck, because you should be doing lead scoring right then and there on the fly, do not pass that in as a conversion. Even though a lead came in, exclude that as a conversion. So now you're only passing your really good premium leads, and then the system will learn better and then send you more traffic from the good places. So you should have better qualified leads. Yes, you may end up spending a little bit more money, but your cost per sale should drastically go down over time.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, yeah, we're right at time.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys, everyone, for attending today. If you ever need help with your marketing, check us out at npdigital.com. See you guys next time.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
My name is Neil Patel, and I help companies generate more revenue through digital marketing. Entrepreneur Magazine said I was the #1 marketer in the world, and they also said I created one of the 100 most brilliant companies. I started my first website at the age of 16. I took all the money that I earned from working at an amusement park, and I paid a marketing firm. The marketing firm provided no results, and I quickly learned that I wasn't alone. Out of my frustration and from being broke, I had no choice but to learn marketing. My first client was a power supply manufacturer. I helped them generate another $25 million in sales, and from that point, I realized the power of marketing. I helped everyone that I could, and I built my reputation by being honest and over-delivering. I've helped companies like Google, NBC, Viacom, General Motors, eBay, but nothing's more satisfying than helping small business owners succeed. I founded 4 multi-million-dollar companies, and I've learned all the mistakes that you should avoid. I've written about them on Forbes, Entrepreneur, Inc., Fast Company, and even on my own blogs. It's so awesome to know that colleges from all around the world are teaching my material in their classroom. Over the years, I've received awards from the President of the United States, the House of Representatives, and the United Nations. People believe marketing is expensive and difficult. Fortunately, that's not true. There is a formula. Even if you don't have a technical bone in your body, you can get results. And my mission is to share this formula with you.